Why Words Work. 5 words to know in English with your host, David Corcoran. Hello and welcome to episode 16. It's really unbelievable to think that we're really each week progressing with a couple of new episodes. And it's today my privilege to have a very special guest. My guest today is Sonya Ross, a voice and speech coach based in London in the UK, and of course also online, serving people all around the world. And I had the pleasure of meeting Sonya last week through LinkedIn. And then at that point, I said, I would love to have you on to Why Words Work, because as you know, Why Words Work is all about how we use our voice and our communication skills to really express the words that we want to share with others, because words have real power. Sonya helps international professionals make the most of their speaking voice so that they get valuable messages across with clarity and confidence. And she has a particular focus of demystifying English pronunciation. So please enjoy and welcome Sonya to Why Words Work. It's a pleasure to have you here with me.
Thank you, David. Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for asking me to come on.
Yeah, I really, last week we resonated so much together about the topics that we both share as voice coaches, but your particular pronunciation demystification really got me excited. So I thought, why not have you onto the program? And so you've given me your 5 words.
Yes.
And I'll show each word now. And I'd love you to tell our audience, what is it about these words, or perhaps you have a story that you'd like to share with us. So let's have a look at your 5 words. Your first word is chaos, a state of total confusion with no order. Tell me about that.
Okay, so the first thing to say is it looks like the definition is really negative, right? Who wants a state of total confusion with no order? But I quite like the positive, sort of affectionate use of this word, like when children and animals are running around and we call it chaos. It's chaos in the house today. It's chaos in the park, or a crowd of people enjoying themselves. It can be positive or negative, and I quite like that about it. And I think being a voice coach and being a pronunciation specialist, I will say something about the pronunciation, as I probably will for most of the words today.
Mm-hmm.
I think chaos is an interesting one. Of course, we took it from Greek, and looking at it, I think within the confines of English pronunciation, it's not so obvious how to pronounce it if you haven't heard it before, which of course most people have.
Mm-hmm.
And what I quite like about it is that, well, it's got 2 syllables, chaos,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got 2 vowels meeting each other, the A sound and the O sound. And that it's something that comes up quite a lot in my training sessions. Very often clients ask me, how should we pronounce this word in English? Because of course it appears in many languages, and every language has kind of evolved its own pronunciation of this word. And I always find it quite an interesting one to go into, how the vowels meet each other, the chaos, like that little bridge between the vowels. It doesn't happen that often in English, to be honest, within a word.
Yeah.
Like maybe the word create has a similar thing, but there are not that many words that really have this. So I think it's interesting for that reason.
Amazing. Chaos. Yeah. But I love that definition and your interpretation. Life can often feel like very chaotic, can't it? From week to week or moment to moment, lots of things are happening around the world. So clatter, to make continuous loud noises by hitting hard objects against each other, or to cause objects to do this. Clatter. I love this.
Again, this one's really quite specific. And again, it seems negative, right? So you might think of, I don't know, bumping into a display of canned goods in the supermarket, and they're all clattering down. And that definitely could be a meaning of it. But there's something quite satisfying that I find about this word. It makes me think of, I think, things landing on each other in quick succession, kind of like dominoes. So that the effect is something not chaotic, to refer back to the last word. That there's something, I just find it quite pleasing. I don't know if it's the T in the middle, that the sound of that of course there's only one sound, even if we write 2 of them, but there's something about that word that I find really satisfying. And I'm going to share an anecdote which is really specific to me, just in my head. When I'm on trains traveling through, let's say, the suburbs of London, and the line is a bit elevated and you're kind of above the houses, looking down on all the roofs, and there's something about the way that the houses are organized or not so organized. It makes me think of the word clatter. It's like all the houses have just clattered down from the sky and landed there, with the streets on the hills and everything. And I just find it quite pleasing to look at. And that's the word that comes to my mind. And that's why I chose it.
Yeah. So maybe if you're watching next time you're on a train, you can see if clatter applies to your train travel. I was in London a month ago and absolutely agree that when you're traveling through, especially with those row houses and places around London, that everything's tightly compacted. Yeah, what a great word. Super. We have territorial, relating to a particular region. Territorial.
Yes. So another one that, of course, its literal meaning is relating to a particular region, but I think this can have a negative connotation as well. Like if a person is territorial, then they're jealously guarding their territory. They're not generous. They're not inviting. And this one I chose really not because of the meaning at all. It's because of the sound. There's something about all the R's that I find pleasing. And the R is quite it's softer in as consonants go, and it's kind of offset by the hard T at the beginning. But to be a bit more specific, I don't know if you've heard of synesthesia. It's where one sense or the stimulation of one sense evokes another. A very common version of it is to have associations of letters and colors. And I have this. So the most common version of synesthesia, and I'm not sure how many people, the percentage of the population that have synesthesia, I need to look that up. But I associate with the letter T, the color blue. And I also associate with the letter R, the color blue, but it's a different shade of blue in my head. And L is yellow, and it's always, for people who have this experience, the colors between individuals are always so different that it's very jarring to hear other people's colors. So probably other people watching who have color associations themselves are probably saying, no, that's the wrong color. Anyway, these are mine.
Yeah.
I just think, so in my mind's eye, I just think the word looks pretty.
Yes.
And I enjoy saying it.
Lovely.
Yeah. And that's it. Yeah.
Right. Which, I mean, that's a major clue for people watching. Enjoy the words that you say. Enjoy. And what you're really helping people as a coach with is to really explore the feeling, the pronunciation. And if there's a color association, as you have, then that's great. I'm sorry that my dot is green. I could have made it blue and yellow, perhaps, for you to really, connect it there, of course. And that's amazing at what you said, that each person with synesthesia sees different associations, different colors. So it's really a unique experience for you to have. And do you have that with all words that you see and feel? Is it related to letters, or does it become a combination with words as well?
Each letter has its own color. And if I focus on a word enough, then yes, I can see all the colors, because every letter has one, and they don't change. But it tends to be that the word gets overshadowed by the color of the first letter.
Okay.
So it might be easy for me to see territorial as blue.
It's blue.
Yeah.
But it has some yellow in it, as you mentioned, from some of the other letters.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. Great. And was that something that you became aware of when you were young? Was it always been there?
It has always been there. And I noticed when I was very young, young primary school age, that I had colors associated with the days of the week. So, and I think this is a very common experience as well, and those colors are not necessarily related to the colors of the letters that are in the spelling of the days of the week. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And months and school subjects as well have colors. I think that's a little bit more governed by the letters though. But yeah, it's just something that's always been with me, and I discovered there was a name for it,
Yes.
I don't know, 10, 15 years ago or something.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, great. And that helps us to make sense of the word. So it's also an extra dimension that maybe you can share as a coach with others. As you said, it might not be something that I see, but for me, seeing territorial mainly as a blue is a nice feeling.
Mhm.
So if I'm working with you, that might be something that I don't know if you incorporate that or not, but I love that idea because I may have a strong, different association, but it might be that color can be useful to change our perception of things too. So that's really wonderful.
I think so, and it can be quite useful sometimes for remembering words. So it's
Mm.
not something I bring into my coaching often,
Yes,
but I have found myself asking certain clients if they do have this experience, and if they do, then I would encourage them to
to
use it.
use it.
Yeah,
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 as an advantage. That's
yeah,
wonderful. That's wonderful.
yes.
Great. Slay. So we have three definitions: to kill violently, to impress, be impressive, and to make someone feel very upset or disappointed. Slay.
Okay, so slay, this is a word that I don't like very much, and I'm going to focus on the first two definitions given there. I When I hear this word, the first thing I think of is the first definition. I think of killing, and it's not a word I really like.
Mhm.
For that reason, I've got this reaction to it. But then I've noticed that there's a modern usage, and this is going to make me sound really old, but there's a modern usage of slay as being impressive, like you slay in that outfit, or
Mm,
you slayed today on the presentation.
mm,
And I just can't remove this idea of killing. It's like, so it almost has the implication that to be impressive, you have to metaphorically kill other people. you
yeah,
have to you have to knock other people down in order to be
yeah.
impressive. And I think that's the meaning that I react against. And maybe somebody else or somebody younger will explain to me the nuances of slay and what it really means today. But that's what I take from it, and that's
Mm,
my reaction to it. So
yeah.
yeah.
And that's important too. Why words work is also about, and you bring up a great point here about age discrepancies between people. For
Mm,
Generation Z, this may be a very popular and common word,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
my kids are at the lower end of Generation Z, and so if they come home talking about that, then I feel, I feel similarly. One of my sons uses the word revenge a lot. I need to
Okay.
get revenge. And I think, no,
Okay.
you don't. We're not in a kind of competition to really hurt or harm people. There
Uh,
are other ways, So slay for us, I agree. It's the first definition. I agree with you that comes to my mind, and I
mhm.
don't use it like, let's go and slay that presentation, or wow, you slayed your vocal variety in your speech today at Toastmasters, for instance. I wouldn't
And
say
it
that.
and I notice it tends to be used intransitively. So just you slayed, full stop,
You
no
slayed.
object.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
but then I still have this impression that other people have to suffer for that person to look impressive. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And that's not what we want the world to be about
no.
at all. So yeah, thank you for that insight. And it's a good point about different levels of age. And if we were talking to an older person, we probably definitely wouldn't use that word either.
Indeed, indeed.
Choice, the an act of choosing, a decision, choice.
Okay, well, choice. I like this word because I think it underpins the philosophy of my work. Really, I want to empower people to have more choice in the way they speak.
Mhm.
But aside from that, I think just as a general philosophy, we often get stuck in habits. Myself as much as the next person, we can get stuck in quite limited in our own habits, our own expectations, and we can forget that we have choice sometimes. I know that there
Mhm.
are certain circumstances where choices are limited, of course, but I
Mhm.
think that very often we view our choices as more limited than they are.
Mm.
And this is something that I try to live by, but I
Mhm.
definitely bring it into my work
Yes.
that that vocal habits are something that we all have. We
Mhm.
all have ways of speaking that feel familiar, that feel comfortable, but might not be serving us and are getting
Mm.
our ideas across very well.
Yeah.
And I think there's this idea very often of, well, that's just naturally how I speak. And I think often that there are more choices that are natural that they're just not habitual yet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. I think that voice work, speech work, is not about imposing an ideal. I mean,
Mhm.
I think that, I'm sure you agree. And it's more about exploring, discovering what our voices and our communication skills are capable of that we didn't know before. And then we've got more choices and we've got more
Yeah.
tools in the toolbox. So
Yeah.
that's why.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
what we do as voice coaches. So if you're
Yeah.
watching and you've never experienced a voice coach, Sonya definitely could be your choice with the English language, with pronunciation. And you've heard some insights already. I love your insights today, Sonya. Thank you for sharing those with us. So let's wrap it up with 5 words. And I also ask my guests to read these now in the way of emotionally interpreting the words as you would. So as you were perhaps coaching me in an ideal, giving me choice, giving me options. Sounds good.
Okay. Chaos. Would you like me to say only the word or use it?
If you want to use it, let's do that too. We have
Okay.
time.
Well,
Yeah,
why not? Okay.
go for it.
Chaos. It's absolute chaos in here today. Clatter. I'm not going to give an example for that one because I think it more evokes a feeling.
Yeah.
Clatter. Landing on the T there, which really cuts the word, and I think contributes to its meaning. Territorial. Again, I'm not going to give an example. Actually, territorial. This one can be. We can trip over this one. It can be a bit tricky to pronounce sometimes. And my tip is to put the R at the beginning of the syllable, so it's like territorial instead
Ah,
of doing terror that can make it a bit more difficult.
yeah.
So it's my
Yeah.
little tip with that.
Great.
Slay. I'm not going to use, but the slay is how I'd pronounce it.
A negative word. That's good. It's okay. Yeah.
And choice. Yeah. Choice. I want to help people explore new choices and
Absolutely.
in voice and otherwise, really. And yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Great. So, Sonia, where can people find you? We connected on LinkedIn. So, of course, you're on LinkedIn. But where else can people find and connect with you?
So I also go online by vocal choice. It's just me, Sonya Ross, vocal choice. So there's my website, vocalchoice.co.uk, and my Instagram is vocal choice London.
Yes.
And yeah,
So connect, follow up with Sonia. You offer coaching sessions with people. Do you do other things as well that you want to share with our viewers?
well, at the moment, most of my work is one-to-one, but I do have some online workshop plans
Okay,
coming up in the future. So
good.
Instagram is the best place to learn about that. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mm.
Well, Sonia, it's been wonderful to have you on Why Words Work. Thanks for being with us. It's certainly been a moment of sharing between two voice coaches and different angles about what we do. But I'm really
Yeah.
glad we've connected and seeing the power of words work in people's lives. And certainly that's what this whole channel is about. So thanks for joining us.
Definitely. Thank you so much, David. It's been a real pleasure, and I've really enjoyed talking about these words and meeting you, of course.
Yeah,
So
you
thank you.
too. See you soon.
Great. Thanks, David.
Why Words Work. 5 words to know in English.